In a small industrial town on the outskirts of Chicago, where old factories stood like tired giants and the sound of trains echoed through the evenings, lived a man named Daniel Carter. The town was once full of life, hope, and opportunity, but over the years, businesses had closed, jobs had disappeared, and dreams had grown quiet. Daniel was born and raised there, and like many others, he inherited not wealth or privilege, but struggle. His father had been a steelworker, a strong man with calloused hands and tired eyes, who believed that honest work was the only thing a man could truly own. His mother worked long hours cleaning offices downtown, always returning home exhausted but smiling, hiding her pain so her children would never feel hopeless. From a young age, Daniel watched his parents work harder than most people he knew, yet money was always short, and comfort was always temporary. As a child, Daniel dreamed of more. He dreamed of a better house, a safer neighborhood, and a life where his parents did not come home broken every night. He dreamed of becoming someone important, someone successful, someone who could change his family's story. But dreams were easy when you were young. Reality came later. When Daniel turned 18, his father was injured in a factory accident. The company paid a small compensation, then quietly let him go. Medical bills piled up, and Daniel had no choice but to drop out of college and find work. His dreams were pushed aside by responsibility, like an old book placed back on the shelf, unopened. Daniel found work at a construction site in downtown Chicago. Every morning before sunrise, he woke up, pulled on his worn boots, and rode the bus through streets still asleep. The work was hard, dirty, and dangerous. He lifted heavy steel rods, mixed cement, and worked under burning summer suns and freezing winter winds. His hands became rough, his back ached constantly, and his body carried the weight of each passing day. Many men around him complained endlessly, blaming the government, the economy, and fate itself. Daniel listened but said little. Deep inside, his childhood dreams still whispered to him, though he rarely had the energy to listen. One evening, after an especially exhausting day, Daniel sat alone on a half-built structure, watching the city lights slowly turn on. Skyscrapers glowed like symbols of success, towering over him as if reminding him how small he was. He felt anger rising inside him, not at others, but at himself. He had dreamed of a better life, yet here he was, stuck, tired, and uncertain. That night, as he rode the bus home, he noticed a billboard glowing in the dark. It showed a worker, covered in dust and sweat, bending steel with fire behind him. The words were simple but powerful: "Dreams don't work unless you do." Daniel stared at those words for a long time. They felt like they were speaking directly to him. That sentence stayed with Daniel. He thought about it while working, while eating, and even while trying to sleep. He realized something painful but true. He had dreams, but he was no longer working for them. He was only working to survive. Survival was necessary, but it was not enough. Dreams demanded effort beyond routine. They demanded sacrifice beyond comfort. That realization frightened him, because it meant that his situation was not only the result of bad luck, but also of fear of failure, fear of exhaustion, fear of trying and still losing. From that day forward, Daniel made a decision. It was not a dramatic decision, and it did not change his life overnight, but it was real. He decided that no matter how tired he was, he would work for his future every single day, even if it was only a little. He started waking up an hour earlier and reading books about business, self-improvement, and construction management. He borrowed books from the public library because he could not afford to buy them. He listened to podcasts during his commute instead of music. While others rested during lunch breaks, Daniel studied blueprints and asked supervisors questions about planning, safety, and leadership. At first, people laughed at him. Some coworkers told him he was wasting his time, that people like them never moved up, that the system was designed to keep workers at the bottom. Daniel listened politely, but he did not stop. He knew something they didn't want to accept. Reality does not change for those who only complain. It changes for those who act. Slowly, supervisors began to notice his dedication. He was still doing the hardest physical work, but now he was also learning how projects were managed, how costs were calculated, and how teams were led. Life, however, did not become easier just because Daniel worked harder. His mother became ill, and medical expenses increased. There were nights when Daniel slept only 3 or 4 hours, then dragged himself to work before dawn. There were days when his body felt too weak to continue, and his mind begged him to quit. But each time he felt like giving up, he remembered that billboard, those words burning in his mind like fire: "Dreams don't work unless you do." He understood that pain was temporary, but regret could last forever. Years passed quietly. Daniel did not notice the change at first, but it was happening. He was promoted to team leader, then assistant site supervisor. His income improved slightly, enough to support his family with less fear. More importantly, his confidence grew. He was no longer just reacting to life, he was shaping it. He began saving money, carefully, patiently, dollar by dollar. He dreamed of starting his own small construction company one day, a company that treated workers with respect and provided fair wages and safe conditions. When Daniel finally decided to take the risk, he was 35 years old. Many people told him it was too late, that starting a business was for young men with rich families and powerful connections. Daniel had neither. What he had was experience, discipline, and an unbreakable work ethic. He used his savings to register a small company and bought second-hand equipment. His first projects were small: repairing sidewalks, renovating old houses, fixing roofs. He worked longer hours than ever before, often doing both management and labor himself. The early months were brutal. Some clients delayed payments. Some projects failed. At times, Daniel wondered if he had made the biggest mistake of his life. But instead of quitting, he learned. He improved his planning, chose clients more carefully, and built trust through honesty and hard work. Slowly, his reputation grew. People started recommending him. His company took on larger projects, and Daniel hired workers, many from backgrounds just like his own. He paid them fairly, treated them with respect, and reminded them that their work mattered. One evening, years later, Daniel stood at a construction site overlooking the Chicago skyline. The sun was setting, just as it had on that day long ago when he felt small and hopeless. But now, the view felt different. He was no longer just a laborer struggling to survive. He was a leader, a provider, and a living example of what effort could achieve. His parents' lives were more comfortable. His children grew up watching a father who never quit, who showed them that dreams are not gifts, they are responsibilities. Daniel understood something deeply by then. The American dream was not a promise. It was not guaranteed. It was an opportunity, but opportunity meant nothing without effort. Dreams required work when no one was watching, discipline when motivation disappeared, and courage when fear tried to win. He realized that success was not a moment, but a process, a long road built one step at a time. As night fell and city lights flickered on, Daniel smiled quietly. He was still tired. He was still working. But now, his work had meaning. He knew that his story was not special because he became successful, but because he refused to give up when giving up was the easiest choice. He had learned the truth behind the words that once changed his life. Dreams don't work unless you do, but when you do, they slowly, faithfully, begin to work for you.